Hey guys, so in this video, I will be sharing my story about PCOS. In the last video, I shared with you all that I have PCOS. And for those of you who don't know what PCOS is, it is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So tune in, follow along as I share my story and drop a few gems in case some of you guys didn't know a few things about PCOS. So I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of a disclaimer. We're going to be talking about female issues in this video, but that doesn't mean, guys, that you shouldn't tune in, because the women in your life may be suffering from some of these similar things, and you too need to learn how you can help them. This might be a little bit of a heavy topic for some people, but I know at the end of the day, it's all about us sharing our stories so that we can all enter into health. I was diagnosed at the age 22, but I actually was having period issues way before that. I got some blood work done, and to be honest with you, I didn't even understand what the blood work was for. So when I go back to the doctor's office, I'm waiting literally for my doctor for over an hour, and she finally comes in and she circles a couple of numbers on the paper, and she's all like, okay, circle, circle, you have PCOS. And I'm like, what? And then all she said was, here's the numbers, here's your blood work back. And then she just goes to tell me that, you need to get on birth control right now. And if you don't get on birth control, you could go bald and you can have a beard. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So I had no idea what PCOS was or even what it stood for. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of history, like I said, I've had period issues since I was 11, but in my family, it was just normal. Fibroids run in my family. My grandmother's gotten hysterectomy at an early age. Facial hair was just a norm for the women in my family. I'll just be honest. So growing up, it was just a norm. So when my sister and I started having really bad cramps to the point that we were vomiting, couldn't go to school, just constantly in pain, my mom just was suck it up, because I had to deal with it. So to everybody in my family, not that she was trying to be insensitive, but it was just a norm. We didn't know any better. So after I got my diagnosis, I actually started just doing research. And at the time, there was this website called Soul Sisters, and sisters spelled CYSTERS, for sis. So I looked on that website, and my mind was blown. I learned just so much information. I wish the website was still active this day, but I learned so much information. And what the most important thing that I learned was that PCOS is an inflammatory syndrome. So when I got, what other thing that the doctor did tell me was also something about that. She was all if you don't take these pills, you can get diabetes, and you can have, different cancers. And I didn't understand how it correlated. So once I found out that PCOS is an inflammatory syndrome, it clicked for me. There it goes. Diabetes is an inflammatory disease, and a lot of cancers are caused by a lot of inflammation. And when you have PCOS, it does cause a lot of inflammation, particularly, in your uterus, your ovaries, things like that. Similar to endometriosis, but without the scar tissue. So that's what kind of opens up the gateway for women with PCOS to have harder issues with infertility, and make you susceptible to diabetes and different cancers. So once I kind of learned that, I also discovered natural remedies, because I guess I'll just tell you guys a little bit more of my business. So she gives me these birth control pills, and at the time I thought it was going to solve my problems, which to a degree it did. My periods were better and things like that. But maybe about 9 months into taking my birth control, I ended up having really, really bad stomach pains to the point I had to keep calling for work. I couldn't eat anything for 3, almost 4 months. I legit only could have maybe one smoothie in the morning, and I couldn't eat anything else throughout the day. And I didn't know what was going on. Finally, I was going back and forth to the doctor. They thought I had everything from IBS to gastritis and some other stomach inflammatory stomach diseases. Actually, at the age of 22, 23, ended up having to go get a colonoscopy. I had like precancerous polyps. My liver was fatty and started to kind of be on the brink of like dying and everything. And so they didn't have any answers. They didn't know what was causing it. I couldn't eat, so it wasn't necessarily like my diet. So my mom one day finds a commercial that there's like a lawsuit about the particular birth control that I was on, and that people were having liver issues and actually dying because of the liver issues, or really having like really bad issues to like maybe they had to have their liver removed and things like that. So then it clicked for me that, hey, I'm having all these issues because of the birth control. And what birth control really does for any kind of like female issue is really just kind of mask the symptoms. So after I got off of those pills and started looking definitely for permanent natural remedies, going back to their website and just various websites and stuff, I started learning about herbs such as like Vitex, or also known as chasteberry, maca, and really just kind of learning about how to heal my body, because I didn't want to live the rest of my life with this, or continuing to have issues or anything like that. So what I did also, like I said, was just do a lot of research about like holistic approaches and things. And in doing so, I started to realize that, okay, since it's an inflammatory disease, I need to do things to change my diet. So I started cutting out, like processed carbs and dairy and just other things that cause that inflammation in your body. So those are some of the things that I did. I'll be honest, I didn't always stick with it. And when I didn't stick with it, my body definitely felt it. And another thing was definitely like trying to like maintain a weight and also like lots of exercise and just being active. And so at the time when, because I went to like, I don't know, like so many just different gynecologists, and from every person I heard different things. Like at one point, one doctor put me like on metformin, which is like a diabetic medication, but they also give it to women who have like PCOS or endometriosis, and it was like the god awful worst drug that like I was ever on. And the reason why I got back onto something was because I started having my issues again, and just you get frustrated like with your body, so you're like trying to find like these quick solutions, like hence birth control, or hence on metformin or other types of things. But my true like relief didn't come until I started like really taking control of myself. Like stop worrying so much about what the doctor is saying about what the future might hold for me or anything like that, and just really just focusing on myself and doing right by my body and how my body responds. So that's when I started to really get to know my body and like the food that would cause me different issues, or maybe certain drinks or anything like that. And so this is a tip for anybody, not just people with PCOS, but just anybody. Like we're so busy these days that we don't take the time to kind of understand our body. So we start having like a chest pain, or we start having, shortness of breath, or just kind of anything going on, and we don't know where it's coming from. But a lot of times, if we kind of take the time to like just kind of slow down, understand our body, understand when we have certain symptoms, it will do us a lot of good in the long run. Even if we're seeking that medical care, we can go up to that medical provider and then be like, okay, hey, eating this type of fruit or eating this is kind of what's been upsetting me. What's some alternatives? How can I kind of, do better in different areas? That also helps us in that area. So anyway, going back to kind of my story and kind of the things that I've done, like I said, what kind of set me on the right path was understanding my diagnosis. The doctor and multiple doctors were no help in that area. Who was helpful was talking to, like other women who had it in different like groups and stuff. And like really understanding like the root cause. And because I understood the root cause, it helped me to start to have my symptoms like under control. And Like another thing that I first started doing was like even changing what I put on my body topically. That's when I switched to like natural deodorants and lotions. So I didn't understand how all those things seep into your skin, which of course is your biggest organ, and can, you know, contribute to having, you know, all of these different symptoms and everything. And like I said, just learning just different things over the years and really deciding to take PCOS into my own hands and understanding it and understand how it affects my body, because even though women have PCOS diagnosis, what doctors don't tell you is that there is really like no blanket. They come up with the diagnosis like based on like your numbers, like your blood work, your estrogen levels, testosterone, your progesterone, things like that. So that's how they come to the diagnosis. But how it presents itself in everyone is different. I'll tell you guys my sister's business, I guess. So my sister, they tell you, okay, like lose weight and work out, right? Now, my sister has never been overweight and she's athletic. And she too had got this diagnosis. So it's like, okay, like what is she supposed to do for someone who's always been thin, never had weight, never fluctuated up and down, and always worked out? So there really isn't like a blanket or like, okay, this woman has it and that woman does it. Everybody is different and it presents itself different. Like I said, it is called polycystic ovarian syndrome. And like my sister in high school ended up having to get a cyst removed, and then started even into like later, after she even graduated college, was still having to go to the emergency room and things. And myself, I never experienced that. My experience has just been like pain, cramping, not necessarily like passing like big cysts or anything like that. So and each woman is different, and so that's why the best thing you can do is understand how it personally affects your body, and have a calendar, write things down, see what holistic things that help you. The most important thing is just being able to understand your body, understanding that if you feel anything is abnormal, then definitely contact your provider. Make sure that your provider is doing their due diligence to explain from start to finish exactly what is polycystic ovarian syndrome or endometriosis, or anytime you get diagnosed with anything. I don't care if it's diabetes or leukemia. Make sure that your doctor doesn't just circle numbers and run out that room. Make sure that you are asking every question that you have so that you can have that information and that education in order to do right and what's best for your body. So thank you guys just for listening. I hope you guys learned something. Please comment below any questions you might have. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and also follow us on our social media platforms. Until I see you guys again, make sure you remember that you are stronger than you feel.